Hi Taurus, welcome to your reading. If you're new to the channel, I do timeless readings, which means that whenever you find this video is when you're meant to hear the messages within it. And in case you subscribe, I upload my new videos for Taurus and Scorpio on Tuesdays. And for those of you guys who are interested, the deck that I'm using today is called the Modern Spellcaster's Tarot. I really love this deck. I'm a huge fan. And then, as always, if you guys are interested in getting a personal reading, the link is in the description. I'm going for 2 more cards here, and then we'll get started on your reading. Okay, you guys, so just a reminder, if you like the reading, leave a comment saying if you liked it or if it resonated or just your general thoughts. And also, leave a like if you liked it. But your general energy for this reading, your overall energy, is the 4 of Cups. And that leads me to believe right now that there's a lot of discontentment within your relationships. And I definitely feel like it's relationships because I see a lot of this like love energy here. Because I see the Page of Cups, I see the 8 of Cups, and I see the 4 of Wands, right? And those, to me, all feel like very relationship-heavy energy. I feel like right now you're in a state of mind where you really just want more out of your relationships, I feel. I feel like in the past, you've been okay with getting into, you know, sort of arrangements, or just like a little bit more superficial relationships or whatever. But I feel like right now you're sort of starting to really want more out of your relationships. I sense like you want a spiritual kind of connection, a very deep, intense, loving kind of connection. And I think that for a lot of you, right now it might be very advisable to meditate, because I'm looking at this 4 of Cups and he's meditating on the 4 of Cups and sort of their meaning to him. And also I'm seeing 2 4s, right? So there's the 4 of Cups and then there's the 4 of Wands. 4 of Wands talks about higher level commitment. To me, I like to call it my level up card. So whatever, you know, commitment looks like to you, it's going to be a stage above that. So for some of you, you might be, you know, just talking to someone and then you start maybe dating. If you've been in a serious committed like dating stage for a long time, you might be looking at engagement. Maybe you've already been married. You might be looking at kids. It all just depends on where you're at in your story. But I definitely sense that there's that want to go further. And definitely with this Ace of Swords, I feel like there's been a lot of miscommunications in the past, especially, I don't think it's particularly with one person. I think it's multiple people that you've had this miscommunication with. And I think that you have a lot of sort of I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but it's like you opened up a browser and you have a bunch of open tabs that you haven't closed yet. A lot of loose ends that you're trying to tie up right now. Because I really do feel like you're entering a new stage of your life, especially with this Ace of Swords. I feel like you guys are really trying to manifest this new beginning, and one that's clear. And I feel like a lot of you guys are doing a lot in the way of stating what your intentions are from the beginning, because you've been through the ringer a couple times, I feel, especially with this Queen of Wands, because that's sort of your energy right now. I feel like you're very fierce, you're very strong. You're not about... I'm getting that book called The Princess Saves Herself in this one. And I know it's a poetry book, but that's kind of the energy that you're really exuding right now. Like, you're a princess or a queen, but you're capable of saving yourself. This Queen of Wands doesn't need anyone else. And that's why you're looking for higher... Like, you're looking for someone who has far more value, because you're looking for someone who can match you sort of on life path level. And I feel like that's your goal. And now what you're doing is you're in this Two of Wands energy, which is you taking a step back and planning how you're going to achieve that goal. I definitely feel like, because the Wands and the Swords, more so the Wands, are passionate, but they're not necessarily always emotional. And on this top row, you have Wands and Swords, right? A lot of Wand energy, so a lot of fire energy. So I feel like there's a part of you that's very logical, very goal-oriented. And then here on the bottom, you have, you know, a lot of this cup energy, 2 cup cards, and then like a pentacle card, which I associate more closely to the cups, how I associate the wands closer to the swords. But I feel like you have sort of this very logical front, and then underneath that you have this very emotional soft core. So I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're doing sort of best of both worlds. And I'm really getting that you guys are deciding what your goal is emotionally, very deeply. It's like you leave the sort of superficial stuff up to your mind, and you leave the things that have to do with your values and your ideals to your heart. And I feel like that's the way you should do it, because that, in the long run, that's going to achieve a lot more happiness for you guys. And like I was saying earlier with this example of like leaving those tabs open, you're definitely trying to cut up or tie up a lot of these loose ends with this 8 of Cups, because you want everything to be sort of neat and tidy before you start this new cycle. And definitely you're working with a lot of people here. This 3 of Pentacles, it's very interesting, because I'm looking at the 3 of Pentacles that are there, and it almost looks like this man is sort of teaching the kids that if you take the seeds from the core of the apple, because he has an apple cut open and he's showing them how you can plant them and grow another tree. And I see the symbolism of apple trees in the back. And there's even a squirrel in the background, or even pretty close actually in the foreground, eating an apple. So it almost feels like you're teaching a lot of people to be self-sufficient in a lot of ways. I feel like you are a lot more emotionally mature, a lot more emotionally evolved than a lot of people, especially a lot of people that you may have been involved with in the past or are currently involved with. And I feel like you're sort of teaching them to be a lot more self-sufficient, because I feel like you guys are definitely the giver, and definitely have been the giver in the past. So you've sort of given and given and given and given, and now you're sort of, it's like that expression, give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for life, right? So, and I feel like with this Temperance card, that's very much the energy that you're in. I believe this is Hermes. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely there's sort of this idea of the interchanging of information, or exchanging of information. And the Temperance card in itself is very interesting, because it talks about mixing things in a way where you're able to come up with a new element, sort of like alchemy, right? And I feel like right now you're taking things from other people and giving things back. So I feel like things are a lot more balanced for you now, especially since you have this Temperance card right underneath this Queen of Wands. So I feel like you're learning just as much from other people as they're learning from you, right? And, you know, sometimes we teach by example, by positive example, and sometimes we learn by negative example, right? So I think that in the past, you've been hurt a lot of times, and now you're sort of learning from those things and saying, well, if I want to have a healthy, happy relationship, I can't do those things that people have done to me. And I feel like for some of you, maybe sometimes you were in those shoes too, where you acted in ways that you probably shouldn't have. And I feel like if it's something that you did, you're so past like knowing what to do at this point. Like, this is definitely like past energy of you being in a stage where you're learning. I feel like at this point you're very learned and you're very much ready for this new relationship. You just haven't seen it yet. And that's why you have this Page of Cups, is because you're trying to work towards this new relationship. I feel like I'm getting almost like the imagery of when you put like a cake or something in the oven and you're baking it and you're just waiting for it to be ready so you can dig in. I feel like you guys know. You guys are ready. It's just that you need to wait for this to manifest. So if you guys were concerned at all, whether or not you were ready for this relationship, I would say you're totally ready. It's just a matter of being patient for it and tying up those loose ends. But that was your reading for this time around, Taurus. And if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like or a comment, because it really helps out the channel. And I personally really love to know if these readings resonate with you guys. But like I said before, I upload my new Taurus videos on Tuesday. But in the meantime, you guys are more than welcome to watch any of my other timeless readings that I have up on the channel. And with that, I hope to see you guys next time.